How to avoid spam filters in B2B lead outreach. Inbox placement is now a pipeline problem. If it feels like more cold emails are disappearing into the void, you're not imagining it. Global inbox placement typically sits around 83 to 85%, which means roughly 15 to 17% of legitimate marketing emails never reach the inbox at all. In practical SDR terms, that's about 1 in 6 touches that your team thinks they sent, but prospects never even had a chance to read. For B2B senders, the benchmark is similar. Average inbox placement is around 85%, leaving about 15% of B2B emails landing in spam or failing to deliver. That silent loss is brutal because it's invisible in most outreach dashboards, and it compounds across sequences, territories, and quarters. When deliverability slips, the same team and the same messaging suddenly underperform, even though the real issue is that fewer prospects ever saw the outreach. At SalesHive, we treat deliverability as part of the Outbound system, not a one-time IT setup. Whether you run outreach in-house or partner with a cold email agency or sales development agency, the goal is the same. Make your emails look trustworthy to mailbox providers and worth reading to buyers. This guide breaks down what modern filters care about and how to build a repeatable playbook your SDRs can follow. Why spam filters keep getting harsher. Mailbox providers are fighting a volume war. In 2024, spam made up 47.27% of global email traffic, and in 2025, estimates put spam at 162.7 billion emails per day, roughly 45% of all email. When buyers' inboxes are flooded at that scale, providers have no choice but to treat anything that resembles bulk outreach with suspicion. Even if filters block the vast majority of junk, often cited at 99.9% effectiveness, that doesn't automatically protect your legitimate B2B campaigns. It actually raises the bar because providers use aggressive heuristics and reputation models to prevent gray mail from slipping through. The net result is simple. Your cold outreach has to prove it's both authentic and wanted. This is why deliverability is a revenue lever for any outbound sales agency, SDR agency, or B2B sales agency that relies on email for pipeline. If you lose inbox placement, you don't just lose replies. You lose the chance to earn engagement signals that keep you in good standing long term. The most sustainable teams build for relevance and consistency, not brute force volume. What modern spam filters actually evaluate. Spam filtering isn't triggered by a single bad word. Providers score a stack of signals, starting with identity, SPF and DKIM authentication, plus DMARC alignment that confirms the from domain is legitimate. If your authentication is missing or misconfigured, you begin every send with a credibility deficit that's hard to overcome at scale. Next is reputation, your domain and sending infrastructure's credit score. Filters track complaint rates, hard bounces, block rate limit events, and how recipients behave after delivery. Engagement is especially powerful. Opens are imperfect but still used, while replies, forwards, and not spam actions tend to be strong positive signals. Mass deletes, ignores, and spam complaints push you in the wrong direction. Finally, filters assess content and patterns. Cold emails that look like marketing blasts, heavy HTML, images, excessive links, or mismatched tracking domains tend to underperform because they resemble promotional traffic. Plain text-style messages that read like true one-to-one business email are more likely to earn engagement, which protects deliverability and improves outcomes for any team doing sales outsourcing or running an outsourced sales team. Get the fundamentals right: setup, domains, and warm-up. Start by protecting your primary domain. For outbound, use dedicated, properly configured sending domains and keep your day-to-day corporate email separate from cold outreach risk. This one decision reduces the blast radius if a domain gets throttled, filtered, or temporarily blocked, something that can derail not just email, but calendar invites and customer comms if you send from your main domain. Then get authentication and compliance in place. Gmail and Yahoo's 2024 bulk sender requirements raised expectations around SPF DKIM and made DMARC effectively mandatory for high-volume patterns, with spam complaint expectations around 0.1 to 0.3%. That's not a theoretical number. It's no more than 1 to 3 spam complaints per 1,000 emails, and it's why one-click unsubscribe and fast opt-out processing is deliverability insurance, not a nice-to-have. Not a nice-to-have. Warmup works because it builds reputation like a real human sender. Steady patterns, low complaint rates, and gradual volume increases. The common mistake is ramping too fast, spinning up a new domain and blasting on day one, which creates the same footprint providers associate with spammers. If you need more output, scale horizontally by adding inboxes and domains, not by cranking a single inbox to extremes. Deliverability isn't an email setting, it's a revenue system you either run proactively or you pay for later. Pay for later. Write cold emails that filters and humans both trust. When inbox providers can't perfectly know intent, they use recipient behavior as a proxy for quality. That's why relevance matters as much as technical setup. The more your messaging earns opens and replies, the more your future mail benefits from positive reputation. Benchmarks show average B2B sales email open rates around 21.3%, but cold outreach often lands at 15 to 18%. Highly personalized sends can reach 35% plus, which helps both performance and deliverability. The safest pattern for outbound is plain text style, short paragraphs, minimal links, and a clear business reason for reaching out. Instead of feature dumps, lead with a specific observation about the prospect's role, market, or workflow, and ask a low-friction question that invites a reply. Replies are one of the strongest engagement signals you can generate, and they're far more valuable than chasing clever subject lines. At SalesHive, we've seen how personalization scales when it's built into the workflow. Our eMod AI personalization approach is designed to produce credible, one-to-one style messaging at volume, and we've reported up to 3 times higher response rates versus templated sends when personalization is done well. This is where many teams benefit from an experienced SDR agency or outbound sales agency. Quality personalization plus deliverability discipline is hard to improvise under quota pressure. The most common mistakes that trigger spam placement. The biggest deliverability killer is treating cold outreach like a broadcast channel. Sudden volume spikes, inconsistent send times, and pushing too many emails per inbox all look like automated behavior, which raises filtering risk. Another common failure is ignoring opt-outs or making unsubscribes hard. When prospects can't leave easily, they hit spam, and that complaint becomes a durable reputation hit. List quality is the second major culprit. If you skip verification and send to stale or risky addresses, hard bounces rise and you're more likely to hit recycled accounts or spam traps, which can tank a domain quickly. This is why list building services and B2B list building services should be judged on verification rigor, not just record counts, and why bigger lists often reduce results when relevance and data hygiene are weak. Finally, teams often over-design their cold emails. Heavy HTML, image headers, link farms, and aggressive tracking can turn a sales email into something that resembles promotional or malicious mail. For organizations that need predictable pipeline, the safer move is a multi-channel system. email plus LinkedIn touches plus cold calling services, so your entire outbound program doesn't live or die by one channel's filtering behavior. Monitor deliverability like a production system. Deliverability isn't set it and forget it, especially once sequences are running across multiple inboxes and domains. Sales ops should watch deliverability indicators daily, and SDR leaders should empower reps to pause sends the moment metrics go red. The cost of pausing for a day is small. The cost of recovering a burned domain is large. Complaint rate is the non-negotiable metric. With Gmail and Yahoo expectations around 0.1 to 0.3%, you need guardrails that prevent a single bad list or spammy template from poisoning an entire domain. Pair that with bounce monitoring and a consistent sending cadence, and you'll avoid the "everything was fine until it wasn't" failure mode that hits many teams during scaling. Use provider-facing tools and feedback loops where possible. For example, Gmail reputation monitoring, to catch issues early and keep your sending patterns consistent week to week. The common mistake is waiting until replies drop to investigate. By then, a domain may already be throttled. Treat deliverability like uptime. You don't guess, you instrument. What to do next and when to bring in help. A practical next step is to formalize a deliverability operating rhythm. Monthly authentication checks, weekly list hygiene reviews, and daily monitoring of bounces and complaints. Combine that with a simple content discipline, plain text style, low-link first touches, and personalization that's rooted in real account research. When you do this consistently, you'll protect domain reputation and lift results without needing risky volume. Also, don't let email be your only lever. The fastest-growing teams run an outbound mix that includes LinkedIn outreach services and B2B cold calling services, because calls and social touches generate pipeline even when inboxes tighten. If you're evaluating partners, look for a sales agency that can support both email deliverability and complementary channels like telemarketing or cold call services, so you're not overexposed to one provider's filtering changes. If you don't have time to build all of this in-house, partnering can be cheaper than learning via blocked domains. Cheaper than learning via blocked domains. At SalesHive, we've been running Outbound since 2016 and have booked 100,000 plus meetings for 1,500 plus B2B clients by combining SDR execution with an AI-powered platform and deliverability-first operations. Whether you hire SDRs internally or work with an outsourced sales team, the standard in 2025 is clear. Earn trust with providers, earn attention from buyers, and manage deliverability as an ongoing system.